Because the first thing they're thinking that she can't be with him for love. The next thing the people are going to say, but him can't manage. How him going to manage she? Him can't manage that work. When them get in bed at night time, can't manage that. So I think it's important to find out what their expectations are.
Welcome to the New Foundation Christian Ministries B1 Marriage Ministry video podcast. I am your host, Donald McFarlane, and with me is my co-host,
Natalie Irving Mattox. Bishop, I just want to take a few minutes to quickly give some anniversary shout out to a few of our international and local married couples. We have Mark and Diane Brown from Texas, USA. We have Pastor Rupert Thomas and his beautiful wife, Hope Thomas from Florida. Oral and Keon Foster from Jamaica. Annery and Oral Nextchange Music Read. And finally, Mishika and Kevon Thompson from Florida. Happy anniversary for the month of July. Thank you.
Very well. So here we are once again, welcoming all those who have joined us as we engage in a yet another episode with a guest, Natalie, that I believe is befitting of some of the details that we'd like to unearth in terms of life, generally speaking, because she comes to the table with that, but also specifically on some matters that I'm sure our viewers will find very interesting. I am speaking of none other than one Eloise Jacqueline Cato. What do I say of Cato in this very initial introduction? Natalie, I can tell you that I actually met Cato as a practicum student to the institution that I work with. But our friendship and relationship has grown significantly because of some unquestionable outstanding qualities. She is a person who has a commitment for volunteerism. Time will not afford me to go into all of this in this introduction, because you and I will certainly bring into the fore some of the things about her. But Cato gives her life to helping people, working with organizations, not least of them the church, but certainly community base. One of the most memorable things is when he took a couple of us way up in the hills of St. Andrew. We almost fall off the island of Jamaica. And it was all about going to help people. This is not a paid job. She drives all over the place. Wow. And that stands out for me as, very outstanding. She actually is a counseling psychologist and continues to develop her educational pursuit in such areas and many others. So our audience certainly will find much more, Natalie, as we interact with you, Cato, as I like to call her. Welcome on set, Cato. It's great having you here.
Thank you.
Very much, very much. Natalie, you were interacting with Cato about her doctoral program. Yes, you may want to extract from her some things for us to learn. Yes.
Right. So what's the title of the dissertation?
Well, actually, the doctoral project that I want to do is on murder-suicide.
There's a thesis there.
And I actually did a smaller paper on it.
Okay.
And apparently it was so good that the lecturer was, he commended me. He said, I think you should do, your final paper should be on this. And I said, Lord, what is this? This is what I'm planning to do my final paper on. So he says, look, when you're ready, I'm pleased to be your mentor for this paper. And I just took that as a sign that, the Lord is confirming to me that this is the area that he wants me to focus on.
Okay, but what would have influenced that focus?
A number of things. I saw what was happening in my country, the visibility every time there was a murder-suicide. And there was a lot of hype around it, but not much delving into the situation of what caused this. How do we prevent this? And I am a divorced person, right? And that was a really horrible process. Going through a divorce is a horrible process. And part of what I felt through that process, some of the feeling was deep anger. And I think that was when I began to understand that, these emotions, even somebody who is not quick to anger, might feel angry enough to do something that is harmful, So those are some of the things that, came into play where I started to focus on that.
Yes. And I mean, I could also mention too that sometime last year, the rate of the murder-suicide or rate has drastically increased.
Sharply. Yes. Very sharply.
And what do you think would have contributed to some of that based on your research?
Some of the factors are age gap. And most of the times it's a much younger woman with an older man.
Okay.
So there's a power and age dynamic there.
Okay.
We have had cases that have come up where some of these men have put the young ladies through school.
Yes.
And when the young ladies want to leave, something bad happens. Another issue is how men are cultured. There's a certain expectation of what you get back from a woman. And if you don't get that, then certain things are fine to do. Domestic violence, murder, some of that falls within what society seems to imply or what some men seem to think that society tells them they can do. A woman give me my problem, get her to lick.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
If she done out all my money or I send her go school and she decides that she'll leave, I can just deal with her. Finally.
Yes.
Right? So it's a number of issues that you will find in each situation, but a major thing that we are seeing, especially in Jamaica, is the age gap. Right? We're seeing the age gap. The much younger woman with the older man.
Wow.
You don't mind me asking, well, so when you say the problem of the age gap, you're really not saying that there's a problem with them essentially meeting their needs, meaning an older man being attracted to a woman, the emotional, physical needs. Is that the problem? It seems to be met or not?
It could be a number of things.
Yes.
Because after this has happened, we hear, as I say, in retrospect, we hear people say a lot of things. He put her through school and everything. Maybe he couldn't manage the sexual side of things anymore, and she had a chap on the side. But again, we hear that after the fact. And the truth is, the persons in the murder-suicide don't survive, so we can't interview them. So what we're hearing is from other people who perhaps never even noticed anything at the time.
Yes.
Right? But sexuality is a big issue, whether the man is able to keep up with the younger woman and the spending of money.
Yes.
Those are two major issues that we see coming out.
So there may not be answer specifically to this kind of situation, but since you have led us down this road a little bit, what would be then your word, psychologist Cato, to a couple who comes to you for counseling and there is that age gap and you have all this historical understanding? How do you speak to persons like these who clearly going to say to you initially that they love each other.
I should point out that it's not only when there's an age gap that you do find a murder-suicide. You have it in couples also who are close in age.
Right.
But as far as I'm concerned, there's no reason why a relationship with an age gap won't work. Right? Society generally tends to be unflattering about that, which is part of the pressures that the couple faces. Because the first thing they're thinking that she can't be with him for love. It must be for something else.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
And then the next thing the people are going to say, but him can't manage. How him going to manage she? Him can't manage that work. When them get in bed at night time, he can't manage that. So I think it's important to find out what their expectations are. You know, what is the expectation going in? Because as a younger woman, you have to understand that as people age, they may not age well. We have seen it. There may come a stage where you may be nothing more than a caregiver.
Yes.
So that is one of the issues you have to deal with. Are you prepared to deal with that? I mean, it can happen either way. The younger person could be the one who needs the caregiver. But the way how life works, it's generally the older person who needs that, whether you're the man or the woman who is older. So it needs a rigorous process to go through to ensure that what are your expectations going in? What are some of the obstacles that you could face, which is where good marital counseling comes in.
Yes.
You identify issues such as family of origin, religion, issues. For example, if it is an older woman and a younger man, does the younger man want children?
Yes.
If the lady is past childbearing age, how is that going to be? How are you going to work that out? Is it going to be adoption? Is it that he wants a natural child and therefore he must have that? So there are issues that you have to think about. You know, are there children? Does the older partner have children who are at the same age, older, younger than the partner? So there are a lot of issues that you need to go through to find, but mainly it's expectations, right? Because I believe the breakdown comes and the distance comes when the expectations, you come in with expectations that are different and those expectations are not met.
Yeah. I want a follow-up question to that, though. So, you know, we know that oftentimes there are, abuse from, it could be from the male but mainly from, it's reported mainly by women against men. But I know my bishop and I have spoken about this on several occasions.
Yes.
And I know based on his experience with maybe, different couples, there may be instances where the woman is the abuser. But what I really want to find out from you is if a couple comes to you and they are complaining that there's been some abuse, they're constantly fighting. What would you recommend that couple do? Especially if the man keeps abusing her over and over.
All right. There are programs for persons who are abusers. And part of it is this person a consistent and unrepentant abuser? Because there's that first issue. If this person is not interested in doing anything other than abuse, then you definitely have a larger problem here that may lead to the woman being unsafe or I don't want to be sexist, or the man being unsafe. And the proceeding here may be for the person to remove themselves from that situation, even if they want to work at it. But it may be that in terms of personal safety, it may be better for the person who is being abused to leave. But again, as I said, if the person who is doing the abuse is unrepentant and has no intention of changing, then that is definitely a problem because the person is not interested in changing. And if somebody is not interested in changing, it's very hard to impose change from outside.
Right. Gotcha.
Yes. Good point.
So you have been exposed to this murder-suicide frequency in the society. And you said that it has become a driving force for your doctoral program. In fact, you have seen it in some organizations that have, more than others, that have made public news, and you took it on to research it with the view of, you'd say, your intent. How will all of this information help you?
I think we need to start with having a structure that's able to provide skills
Yes.
to persons before I think they become couples. Because you have to be able to recognize going into a relationship what red flags might be. It's important also that you know what you want as a person. So I think there needs to be a focus on the individual, first of all, yourself, to provide you with the skills, the life skills that you need for a relationship and to recognize what may or may not be dangerous. But we also have to be able to flag couples where there's a potential problem and move in and do something before it gets to a stage where something happens. To provide them with the skills, whether it's communication skills, whether it's negotiation, whether it's just to be able to talk to each other about issues that are happening, whether it's to provide them with information of where can I go if I feel that this may be a possibility. If the man finds himself, because there are very few also, there are a lot more structures and programs for women than there actually are for men.
That's right.
And men really aren't help seeking. It's very few men you find will call a hotline and say, I feel like I might hit my girlfriend. Right? He's not going to do that. Mainly because he feels that he's going to be condemned immediately. You know, wicked old man, what we are talking about. Right? But there are men who do find themselves, before they even think about it, they have lashed out.
Yes.
And they're horrified that they have done so. But then you have the ones who do it consistently and as a tool of keeping the partner in line. So some of those things we need to be able to identify early.
Yes.
Is there a red flag? Is there a potential for this? Right?
Yes.
And bearing in mind that we can't predict, sadly, we can't predict every one of these cases.
Right.
We can't. But I think we need to have structures that are proactive. We need to have programs that are developed. And I'm hoping I can develop a program that will make some sense, that can work for people, because we don't need any more deaths.
Yes. It's a good point.
Got you. So you carry that burden there. Very well.
Feels like one.
Very well. I know we'll talk about this, but you've introduced the material, and somebody says, especially this is a B1 Marriage Ministry video podcast. And Cato actually has said that she is divorced.
Yes.
So let us, because I'm sure that there's something we can learn through this avenue by talking to you that really is not about holding back, but speaking for the betterment of us all. So, Cato, in fact, just reiterate what you said. You once were married, and now you are divorced. You're a single woman.
Yes, I was married.
Yes.
And, I am now divorced. And I think, I know some people would say, what does a divorced person have to bring to the table when it comes to marriage?
Well, but I want to journey with you. I want to take it systematically up to that point in time, because I want to find out a bit about your relationship and then marriage, Natalie.
Yes.
Natalie, are you interested to hear? Yes. We thank her for being on set with us this day, Natalie.
Thank you so much, Eloise. I also want to thank our sponsor, Mattox Health and Fitness, our resident producer, George Malcolm Walker, our program director, Damian De Aguilar. I want to encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel at New Foundation Christian Ministries. Continue to follow us on Facebook at New Foundation Christian Ministries and on Instagram at B1 Marriage Ministry. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
Excellent.